since I obviously got in the league. One of the most respected coaches in college football. He's had a staff that's, kind of similar to ours, been together for a long time, most of the guys, Banker and Langsdorf and Cavey and those guys. So Chris Brassfield actually was a GA for us here. He was a running back coach up there. So there's a lot of familiarities between the two staffs. Very well coached game, very well coached team. We expect a heck of a game.
Questions? Rob, we'll get to you in a second.
Deion was named a Butkus finalist today. Thoughts on his season so far and the production you got from him?
I thought Deion's had a great year in every aspect. He's really the true leader of this team. Kids follow him, practices every single day, got a passion for the game of football. To watch where he came from as a young freshman wide receiver to where he is now to being, if you projected a kid that came in as a freshman wide receiver to a Butkus Award finalist, it's pretty cool. But it's because of how much he's invested in this, and he's totally invested, and it shows every day, whether we're practicing on a Friday, a third game of the season, or coming off the practice field today. He's just a special guy, and real fortunate to have him.
Questions? Oh, go back in the back, please, Dirk.
Wheaton and Cooks, they're two receivers. The threats that they pose, what they do, that makes them so good.
Both have outstanding speed, and not only are they great route runners to catch the ball, they're really extremely dynamic after the catch. So they can gain a lot of yards after, So you got to make sure you wrap them up and tackle them. They're similar to Marquise Lee in that aspect of that. It's not a catch and that's what you're getting. It's a catch and it can turn into, they can turn 6 into 60 real quick. So. It's difficult when you face a group like that. It was the same situation you had when you had Lee and Woods, because you have two great ones. You can't kind of roll coverage one way. If you do, Cooks will beat you. If you roll it to Cooks, Wheaton's going to beat you. So you got to be really aware of them. And it makes your defense spread out when you got two great ones like that on the outside.
Somebody else says, well, Molly. Sorry, please hand Molly a microphone. I'm sorry, Jordan. I didn't know that you had.
Is that the biggest difference between last season and this season for them? They've won 3 games last season. They've had this tremendous.
No, I mean, that'd be kind of silly to just think that two receivers changed them from a 3-9 team to a 9-2 team. I think they've got great contributions on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're running the ball a lot better right now. Their offensive line is probably playing better than they played last year. The defense, I don't think, is as banged up it was as a year ago. I think they're a lot healthier than they've been in a long time. So there's a lot of components to why that team is won as many games as they have so far.
Jordan.
Oregon State has some big tight ends they use. I was just going to ask about the challenge they've had.
It's the same thing. We faced some good tight ends so far. We had faced 2 great ones last week. Washington has a real good tight end. So that's the one thing they don't have. It's not like you can just say, hey, we take care of Cooks and Wheaton, we're going to be fine. Their tight ends pose a threat. The running backs pose a threat. So it looks like Sean Mannion's back in the form that he was earlier in the season. So it's an offense that's got more than one weapon, and when you have that makes it difficult to defend, because you just can't concentrate on one guy.
Gary.
Chip, not that it factors per se so much into this game, but could you just address a little bit the continuity, your staff being together longer than anyone here in the Pac-12, how that helps this game?
Anyone in the nation. We've been together longer than anybody in the nation, so I just think everybody's on the same page. There's a efficiency to our meetings. There's a understanding of what's going on. You're not looking over there and go, hey, why is that drill being run that way? I think there's a familiarity with them. Everybody's on the same page. We all have the same goals and aspirations of how the vision of this football program is supposed to be like. So it makes things a lot smoother, a lot easier. We don't have to waste a lot of time and trying to get everybody on the same page, because we've been on the same page for a long time. So.
Eric.
You briefly mentioned the offensive line for Oregon State. What's made their rush attack? It was almost non-existent last year. What's made it so much better this year?
I haven't really watched them on offense last year because it's a different group. So they got a hell of a coach in Cavey, and they got new people. Their center is a young freshman, highly recruited kid. Stepped right in and took over. And I think some of those guys that were banged up a year ago are healthy now. So.
And Sean Mannion's progression from last year to this year. Obviously, he had the hiccup this year with the injury and getting benched, but what kind of progression have you seen from him?
I thought he was one of the top young kids in the league last year, and was on track to be that again. Was really playing at a high level, and then got hurt. you know, he came back and had that one game, and then Cody came in. But the kid who played last week looked pretty good to us. So.
Jason.
Actually, that was my question, Chip.
Next.
No, I'll
you don't
ask
get
you.
another
I'll
question.
ask you to elaborate. The Mannion in the first part of the year, which tore up the first 3 or 4 opponents, and then last week, does it look like the same kid as earlier in the year? And then what do you like about him as a quarterback?
Yeah, he
just
looks
the
like the
skills.
same kid as he did earlier in the year. Got a great command of their offense. Extremely accurate thrower. Doesn't zone in on one kid, and if he's covered, then scramble. He's got a great understanding of his progressions and where he's going. Makes quick decisions out there.
Adam?
Got a lot of young guys on the offensive line this year, a lot of injuries movement. Ronas Gracia's kind of been the workhorse, the stable guy in there. What has he meant to that line this year? Having a guy in the middle there that kind of be neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ronas is our leader of that group up front. So.
Steve?
Coach, after a disappointing loss last week, how long did it take for these guys to really bounce back? When I was listening today, they sounded really up and bouncing around. How long did it take for them to get?
I mean, we don't see them on Sunday because that's their day off. So when they came here on Monday, they were good to go. So.
You have faced 2 really quality fronts the last couple of weeks, but in terms of your running game, Kenyon going from 321 yards to 65 and 66 jumps out. Has it been all just what the defense has been throwing at you, or are you better things you could be doing up front with your offensive line and Kenyon running the ball the last couple of weeks?
I mean, you're going to get different looks, when people are going to defend you different ways. So I think, you look at what Cal did, but they couldn't defend the pass. If you're going to devote that many people, so it just depends on how people are going to do it. I mean, everybody can stop anybody's run game, put 11 guys in the line of scrimmage, but you're going to get a lot of balls thrown over your head too, because you got to defend the entire field. So. A lot of it has to do with how the defense deploys. So if they're going to try to take Kenyon away, then it's our job as coaches to make sure that the other guys can make plays. So.
No concerns about the state of the running game?
We'll show up on Saturday, I can tell you that. Yeah, there are, but there are every single week. And when you win, you don't just take a quick look at the tape and say, hey, we're good, let's move on. There's corrections are made, and kind of our system is that we pride ourselves in our consistency, and we do the same exact things. We have an offense-defense debrief meeting every Monday morning that the coordinators run, and then we have position meetings, and then, and that's the same thing. There's what do we do positive, what do we do negative, how do we move on? So, our method for how we do things it hasn't changed, when you win a game or you lose a game, because there's a lot of corrections that are made when you win a game, and I think if you don't address them when you win games, then you're not going to win many. So, I think we kind of pride ourselves in our consistency.
Rick?
Over the time that you've been here, how has your appreciation or your perspective on the Civil War changed?
It hasn't. It's the last game of the year. It's the biggest game we play. So can't be bigger than I make it every year. So.
Questions? Up. Jason?
Back door.
Might be the elephant in the room here, Chip, but your name is spreading like wildfire about NFL. A lot of people say you're the hottest prospect out there coaching-wise. Would you like to address that?
No.